I used to believe that libraries were the safest places on earth. I thought that if you were surrounded by 10,000 books, the truth was easy to find. My name is Maya, and for 3 years, I believed that my university was a sanctuary of logic and light. I was 21, a scholarship student who spent her Friday nights in the basement of the archives, tracing the lineage of history. I was the girl who believed that a degree was a shield. That education was the only way to climb out of the life I had been born into. I didn't realize that the ivy on these walls wasn't just a decoration. It was a net. The architecture of the net in a university is different from an office. It's made of tradition, of unspoken rules, and the heavy weight of legacies. It's the feeling of walking into a lecture hall built in 1920 and knowing that your voice is the smallest thing in the room. I was a young girl in a world of old men who measured their power in tenure and citations. They called themselves mentors. They spoke about the pursuit of excellence, but what they were really pursuing was the preservation of their own reputations. I remember my first meeting with the dean. He sat in an office that smelled of expensive tobacco and ancient paper. He looked at me over the rim of his glasses with a smile that felt like a closed door. He told me I had a special mind, the kind of mind that the university wanted to protect. At the time, I thought he meant he would protect my future. I didn't realize he meant he wanted to protect the university from me. I was the student who asked too many questions about where the research funding was actually going. I was the girl who noticed that the data in the department's prize-winning study didn't match the reality of the archives. For months, I lived within the performance of normalcy. I would sit in the front row of the lecture hall, the literal front row, and take notes while the professor who had fabricated his results lectured us on the sanctity of truth. I watched the other students, girls like me who were working 3 jobs just to be there, and I felt a cold knot of dread in my stomach. We were being sold a dream that was built on a lie, and we were being told that if we just worked harder, we could be part of the elite. The net was everywhere. It was in the way the department head would suggest I drop my independent research. It was in the way the administration would lose my paperwork for a study abroad program. They were slowly cutting off my air, thread by thread. They weren't using threats, they were using advice. They were telling me that my career would be over before it started if I became a distraction. They thought a 21-year-old girl would be so afraid of losing her scholarship that she would bury her eyes in her books and never look up. They forgot that I didn't come here to follow a script. I came here to find the truth. The isolation of the university basement is a specific kind of silence. It's not the silence of the woods, it's the silence of forgotten things. For 90 days, I retreated into that silence. I told everyone I was focusing on my thesis, but I was actually building a case. I spent every night under the glow of a single desk lamp, comparing the department's public reports with the raw data I had found in the dusty ledgers of the 1990s. I was looking for the monster, and I found him in the margins of a spreadsheet. The monster in this story isn't a predator in the dark. He is a man with a PhD and a prestigious award on his wall. He is the professor who everyone admires, the one who gives the commencement speech every year. I found evidence that he had been misappropriating grant money for a decade, money that was supposed to fund scholarships for girls like me. He wasn't just lying about science, he was stealing futures, and the university knew. The front row of the administration had been weaving a net of non-disclosure and internal reviews to keep the scandal from leaking. I remember one night, around 2 a.m., when I realized I was being watched. The library was empty, the shadows of the bookshelves stretching across the floor like bars. I looked up and saw the dean's assistant standing at the end of the aisle. He didn't say anything. He just stood there for a moment, then turned and walked away. It was a warning. A silent reminder that in this sanctuary, there were no secrets. The net was tightening. The next day, my scholarship was reviewed. I was called into a small, windowless room and told that my academic standing was in question. They didn't mention the research. They talked about my participation and my fit for the program. It was a classic piece of institutional gaslighting. They were trying to make me believe that I was the problem, that my perception was flawed, and that I was throwing away a golden opportunity over a misunderstanding. I looked at the three men sitting across from me. They were the architects of my education, and they were trying to dismantle me. I felt the weight of the golden cage. If I just admitted I was mistaken, my scholarship would be safe. I would graduate with honors. I would have the prestigious job and the successful life they promised. All I had to do was trade my integrity for a piece of parchment. I watched the clock on the wall, the ticking sounding like a countdown. I was the young girl they expected to break, but in that sterile room, I realized that I was the only one in the building who was actually free. They were trapped by their reputations. I was only trapped by my silence. The final test came on the day of the department's annual gala. This was the university's biggest night, a room full of donors and dignitaries, all there to celebrate the pursuit of excellence. I was invited to speak as the student success story. It was supposed to be my coronation. They wanted me to stand on that stage and thank them for the opportunity they had given me. They wanted me to be the final knot in their net of silence. I stood in the wings of the auditorium, wearing a dress I had borrowed from a friend. I could hear the murmur of the crowd, the sound of ice clinking in glasses, the self-congratulatory laughter of the front row. The dean was on stage, introducing me. He spoke about my resilience and my commitment to the university's values. He was weaving the narrative right in front of me, confident that I would play my part. He thought the bribe of a career was enough to buy a 21-year-old's soul. When I walked out onto that stage, the lights were so bright I couldn't see the audience. I could only see the dean's face in the front row, smiling with the certainty of a man who had already won. I looked at the microphone, then at the prepared speech in my hand. It was full of lies. It was a script written by the people who were stealing from the students they claimed to protect. I didn't read the script. I dropped the papers on the floor. The sound was small, but in that silent auditorium, it sounded like a building collapsing. "My name is Maya," I said. My voice was calm, grounded, and absolutely clear. "And I am not your success story. I am your witness." For the next 10 minutes, I told them everything. I told them about the ledgers in the basement, the misappropriated funds, and the net of silence that had been woven around the truth for a decade. I saw the dean's smile vanish. I saw the monster in the front row go pale. They tried to cut the microphone, but I had already sent the raw data to the city's largest newspaper an hour before I walked on stage. This was my radical exit. I wasn't just leaving a university, I was leaving a system that had tried to erase me. I walked off that stage and out of the building. I didn't wait for the applause, and I didn't wait for the security guards. I walked across the campus, past the ivy-covered walls that no longer looked prestigious to me. They just looked like a cage. I lost my scholarship that night. I lost my honors and my guaranteed future. But as I walked through the gates of the university for the last time, I pulled my beanie over my head and took a deep breath of the cold city air. I am Maya, and I am the truth they could no longer hide. My resilience isn't something they can put on a diploma. It's something I carry within me, and it is the only thing I will ever need. Today, the performance ends, and my life begins.